ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Namaskar, my dear friends. This is video number 15 on Talks with Swami Vivekananda. This video starts with chapter 2, Priyanath Sinha. Educative value of royal darbars, freedom and discipline. Swami Vivekananda's Catholicity, test of civilization. We evince a sad lack of restraint in conversation or any conjoint action such as music and so on. Everyone tries to put himself foremost. The jostling at railway or steamer stations is another illustration of this. A friend of Swamiji had a talk with him one day at the mutt on the subject. Swamiji remarked, "You see, we have an old adage, if your son is not inclined to study, put him in the darbars, sabha." The word sabha here does not mean social meetings, such as take place occasionally at people's houses. It means royal darbars. In the days of the independent kings of Bengal, they used to hold their courts mornings and evenings. There, all the affairs of the state were discussed in the morning, and as there were no newspapers at the time, the king used to converse with the leading gentry of the capital and gather from them all information regarding the people and the state. These gentlemen had to attend these meetings, for if they did not do so, the king would inquire into the reason of their non-attendance. Such darbars were the centers of civilization in every country and not merely in ours. In the present day, the western part of India, especially Rajputana, are much better off in this respect than Bengal, as something similar to these old darbars still obtain there. Question. Then, Maharaj, have your people lost their good manners because we have no kings of our own? Swamiji, it is all a degeneration which has its root in selfishness. That in boarding a steamer one follow the vulgar maxim, uncle, save thy own precious skin, and in music and moments of recreation everyone tries to make a display of himself, is a typical picture of their mental state. Only little training in self-sacrifice would take it away. It is the fault of the parents who do not teach their children even good manners. Self-sacrifice indeed is the basic of all civilization. On the other hand, owing to the undue domination exercised by the parents, our boys do not get free scope for growth. The parents consider singing as improper, but the son, when he hears a fine piece of music, at once sets his whole mind on how to learn it, and naturally he must look out for an ADD adda. Then again, it is a sin to smoke. So what else can the young man do then mix with the servants of the house to indulge in this habit in secret? In everyone there are infinite tendencies which requires proper scope for satisfaction. But in our country, that is not allowed, and to bring about a different order of things would require a fresh training of the parents. Such is the condition. What a pity. We have not yet developed a high grade of civilization, and in spite of this, our educated Babus want the British to hand over the government to them to manage. It makes me laugh and cry as well. Well, where is that martial spirit which at the very outset required one to know how to serve and obey, and to practice self-restraint? The martial spirit is not self-assertion but self-sacrifice. One must be ready to advance and lay down one's life at the word of command before he can command the hearts and lives of others. One must sacrifice himself first. A devotee of Sri Ramakrishna once passed some severe remarks in a book written by him against those who did not believe in Sri Ramakrishna as an incarnation of God. Swamiji summoned the writer to his presence and addressed him thus in a spirited manner. What right had you to write like that, abusing others? What matters it if they do not believe in your Lord? Have you created a sect? Are we Ramakrishnites that we should look upon anyone who will not worship him as our enemy? By your bigotry you have only lowered him and made him small. If your Lord is God himself, then you ought to know that in whatever name one is calling upon him, it is his worship only. And who are you to abuse others? Do you think they will hear you if you inveigh against them? How foolish! You can only win others' hearts when you have sacrificed yourself to them. Otherwise, why should they hear you? Regaining his natural composure after a short while, Swamiji spoke in a sorrowful tone. Can anyone, my dear friend, have faith or resignation in the Lord unless he himself is a hero? Never can hatred and malice vanish from one's heart unless one becomes a hero, and unless one is free from these. How can one become truly civilized? Where in this country is that sturdy manliness, that spirit of heroism? Alas, nowhere. Often have I looked for that, and I found only one instance of it, and only one. Question: in whom you found it, Swamiji? Swamiji, in JC. Alone I have seen that true resignation, that true spirit of a servant of the Lord. And what is not because he was ever ready to sacrifice himself that Sri Ramakrishna took upon himself all his responsibility. What a unique spirit of resignation to the Lord. I have not met his parallel. From him have I learned the lesson of self-surrender. So saying, Swamiji raised his folded hands to his head out of respect for him. The picture of Sri Krishna, the preacher of the Gita. What is meant by karma in the Gita? Egoism and self-surrender. Problem of evil. The value of sincerity. Origin of image. Worship. Tantrikism, harmony of yogas, reverence for women. Arrangements were being made for Swamiji's leaving India for America for the second time, 1899 AD. He had gone to Calcutta to see one of his friends, and returning from there stopped for a few minutes at Balram Babu's house at Bagh Bazar. He then sent for another friend to accompany him to the mutt. The friend came, and the following conversation took place between him and Swamiji. Swamiji, a very funny thing happened today. I went to a friend's house. he has had a picture painted, the subject of which is Sri Krishna addressing Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Sri Krishna is standing in the chariot, holding the reins in his hand and preaching the Gita to Arjuna. He showed me the picture and asked me how I liked it. Fairly well, I said, but as he insisted on having my criticism on it, I had to give my honest opinion by saying there is nothing in it to commend itself to me. First, because the chariot of the time of Sri Krishna was not like the modern pagoda shaped car, and also there is no expression in the figure of Sri Krishna. Question: was not the pagoda chariot in use then? Swamiji, don't you know that since the Buddhistic era there have been a great confusion in everything in our country? The kings never used to fight in pagoda chariots. There are chariots even today in Rajputana that greatly resemble the chariots of old. Have you seen the chariots in the pictures of Grecian mythology? They have two wheels and one mounts them from behind. If we had that sort of chariot, what good is it to paint a picture if the details are wrong? An historical picture comes up to a standard of excellence when, after making proper study and research, things are portrayed exactly as they were at that period. The truth must be represented, otherwise the picture is nothing. In these days, our young men who go in for painting are generally those who were unsuccessful at the school and who have been given up at home as good for nothing. What work of art can you expect from them? To paint a really good picture requires as much talent as to produce a perfect drama. Question: how then should Sri Krishna be represented in the picture in question? Swamiji, Sri Krishna ought to be painted as he really was, the Gita personified, and the central idea of the Gita should radiate from his whole form as he was teaching the path of Dharma to Arjuna, who had been overcome by infatuation and cowardice. So saying, Swamiji posed himself in the way in which Sri Krishna should be portrayed and continued, look here, thus does he hold the bridle of the horses so tight that they are brought to their haunches, with their forelegs fighting the air and their mouths gaping. This will show a tremendous play of action in the figure of Sri Krishna. His friend, the world-renowned hero, casting aside his bow and arrows, has sunk down like a cord on the chariot in the midst of the two armies, and Sri Krishna, whip in one hand and tightening the reins with the other, has turned himself towards Arjuna, with his childlike face beaming with unworldly love and sympathy and calm and serene looks, and is delivering the message of the Gita to his beloved comrade. Now tell me what idea this picture of the preacher of the Gita conveys to you. The friend, activity combined with a firmness and serenity. Swami, aye, that's it. Intense action in the whole body and withal a face expressing the profound calmness and serenity of the blue sky. This is the central idea of the Gita, to be calm and steadfast in all circumstances, with one's body, mind and soul centered at his hallowed feet. He who, even while doing action, can keep his mind calm, and in whom, even when not doing any outward action, flows the current of activity in the form of the contemplation in Brahma on Brahma, is the intelligent one among men. He indeed is the yogi, he indeed is the perfect worker. At this moment, the man who had been sent to arrange a boat returned and said that it was ready. So Swamiji told the friend, "Now let us go to the mutt. You must have left word at home that you were going there with me." They continued their talk as they walked to the boat. "Swamiji, this idea must be preached to everyone. Work, 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 and less work without looking at results, and always keeping the whole mind and soul steadfast at the lotus feet of the Lord." Question: but it is this not Karma Yoga, Swamiji? Yes, this is Karma Yoga, but without spiritual practices, you will never be able to do this Karma Yoga. You must harmonize the four different yogas, otherwise, how can you always keep your mind and heart wholly on the Lord? Question: it is generally said that work according to the Gita means the performance of Vedic sacrifices and religious exercises. Any other kind of work is futile. Swamiji: alright, but you must make it more comprehensive. Who is responsible for every action you do, every breath you take, and every thought you think? Is it not yourself? The friend: yes and no. I cannot solve this clearly. The truth about it is that man is the instrument and the Lord is the agent. So when I am directed by His will, I am not at all responsible for my actions, Swamiji. Well, that can be said only in the highest state of realization, when the mind will be purified by work and you will see that it is He who is causing all to work. Then only you will have a right to speak like that. Otherwise, it is all bosh, a mere cant. Question: why so? If one is truly convinced by reasoning that the Lord alone is causing all actions to be done, Swamiji, it may hold good when one has been so convinced, but it only lasts for that moment and not a whit afterwards. Well, consider this thoroughly, whether all that you do in your everyday life you are not doing with an egoistic idea that you yourself are the agent. How long do you remember that it is the Lord who is making you work? But then by repeatedly analyzing like that, you will come to a state when the ego will vanish and in the place the Lord will come in. Then you will be able to say with justice, "Thou, Lord, art guarding all my actions from within." But my friend, if the ego occupies all the space in your heart, where forsooth will there be room enough for the Lord to come in? Then the Lord is verily absent. But it is He who is giving me the wicked impulse, Swami. No, by no means it would be blaspheming the Lord to think in that way. He is not inciting you to evil action. It is all the creation of your desire for self-gratification. If one says the Lord is causing everything to be done and willfully persist in wrongdoing, it only brings ruin on him. That is the origin of self-deception. Don't you feel an elation after you have done a good deed? You then give yourself the credit of doing something good. You can't help it. It is very human, but how absurd to take the credit of doing the good act on oneself and lay the blame for the evil act on the Lord. It is a most dangerous idea. The effect of ill-digested Gita and Vedanta never hold that view. Rather say that he is causing the good work to be done while you are responsible for the evil action that will bring on devotion and faith, and you will see his grace manifested at every step. The truth about it is that no one has created you. You have created yourself. This is discrimination. This is Vedanta, but one does not understand it before realization. Therefore, the aspirant should begin with the dualistic standpoint that the Lord is causing good actions while he is doing the evil. This is the easiest way to the purification of the mind. Hence, you find dualism so strong among the Vaishnavas. It is very difficult to entertain Advaitic ideas at the outset, but the dualistic standpoint gradually leads to the realization of the Advaita. Hypocrisy is always a dangerous thing. If there is no willful self-deception, that is to say, if one sincerely believes that the most wicked impulse is also prompted by the Lord, rest assured that one will not have to do those mean acts for long. All the impurities of his mind are quickly destroyed. Our ancient scriptural writers understand this well, and I think that the Tantrika form of worship originated from the time that Buddhism began to decline, and through the operation of the Buddhists, people began to perform their Vedic sacrifices in secret. They had no more opportunity to conduct them for 2 months at a stretch, so they made clay images, worshipped them, and consigned them to the water, finishing everything in one night without leaving the least trace. Man longs for a concrete symbol, otherwise his heart is not satisfied. So in every home that one night sacrifice began to take place. But then the tendencies of man had become sensual. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, some enter the house by the scavenger's entrance. So the spiritual teachers of that time saw that those who could not perform any religious rite owing to their evil propensities also needed some way of coming round by degrees to the path of virtue. For them, those queer tantrika rites came to be invented. Question. They went on doing evil actions knowing them to be good, so how could this remove their evil tendencies, Swamiji? Why they gave a different direction to their propensities? They did them, but with the object of realizing the Lord. Question. Can this really be done? Swamiji, it comes to the same thing. The motive must be all right, and what should prevent them from succeeding? Question. But many are caught in the temptation for wine, meat, etc. in trying to get along with such means. Swamiji, it was therefore that Sri Ramakrishna came. The days of practicing the Tantra in that fashion are gone. He too practiced the Tantra, but not in that way. Where there is the injunction of drinking wine, he would simply touch his forehead with a drop of it. The tantric form of worship is a very slippery ground. Hence I say that this province has had enough of the Tantra. Now it must go beyond. The Vedas should be studied. A harmony of the four kinds of yoga must be practiced, and absolute chastity must be preserved. Question. What do you mean by the harmony of your yogas, Swamiji? Discrimination between the real and the unreal, dispassion and devotion, work and practices in concentration and alone with Along with this, there must be a reverential attitude towards women. Question: how can one look with reverence on the women? Swamiji, well, they are the representations of the Divine Mother, and real well-being of India will commence from the day the worship of the Divine Mother will truly begin, and every man will sacrifice himself at the altar of the Mother. Question: Swamiji, in your boyhood, when we asked you to marry, you would reply, I won't, but you will see what I shall become. You have actually verified your words, Swamiji. Yes, dear brother, you saw how I was in want of food and had to work hard besides. Oh, the tremendous labor. Today the Americans out of love have given me this nice bed and I have something to eat also. But alas, I have not been destined to enjoy physically, and lying on the mattress only aggravates my illness. I feel suffocated as it were. I have to come down and lie on the floor for myself. Third part: reminiscences, the problem of families in India and self-sacrificing workers. East and West, is it Sattva or Tamas? A nation of mendicants, the give and take policy. Tell a man his defects directly, but praise his virtues before others. Vivekananda, everyone may become unbroken. Brahmacharya is the secret of power, samadhi, and work. Our house was very close to Swamiji's, and since we were boys of the same section of the town, I often used to play with him. From my boyhood, I had a special attraction for him, and I had a sincere belief that he would become a great man. When he became a sannyasi, we thought that the promise of a brilliant career for such a man was all in vain. Afterwards, when he went to America, I read in newspapers reports of his lectures at the Chicago Parliament of Religions and others delivered in various places of America, and I thought that fire can never remain hidden under a cloth. The fire that was within Swamiji had to now burst into a flame. The bud, after so many years, had blossomed. After a time, I came to know that he had returned to India and had been delivering fiery lectures at Madras. I read them and wondered that such sublime truth existed in the Hindu religion and that they could be explained so lucidly. What an extraordinary power he had! Was he a man or a god? A great enthusiasm prevailed when Swamiji came to Calcutta, and we followed him to the Sil's garden house on the Ganges at Kasipur. A few days later, at the residence of Raja Radha Kanta Dev, the Calcutta boy delivered an inspiring lecture to a huge concourse of people in reply to an address of welcome, and Calcutta heard him up for the first time and was lost in admiration. But these are facts known to all. After his coming to Calcutta, I was very anxious to see him once alone and able to talk freely with him as in our boyhood. But there was always a gathering of eager inquirers about him, and conversations were going on without a break, so I did not get an opportunity for some time until one day when went out for a walk in the garden on the Ganges side. He at once began to talk as of old to me, the playmate of his boyhood. No sooner had a few words passed between us than Repeated calls came, informing him that many gentlemen had come to see him. He became a little impatient at last and told the messenger, "Give me a little respite, my son. Let me speak a few words with this companion of my boyhood. Let him stay in the open air for a while. Go and give a welcome to those who have come. Ask them to sit down, offer them tobacco, and request them to wait a little." When we were alone again, I asked him, "Well, Swamiji, you are a sadhu. Money was raised by subscription for your reception here, and I thought, in view of the famine in the country, that you would wire before arriving in Calcutta, saying, 'Don't spend a single pie on my reception, rather contribute the whole sum to the famine relief fund.' But I found that you did nothing of the kind. How was that?" "Swami, why, I wished rather that a great enthusiasm should be stirred up. Don't you see? Without some such thing, how would the people be drawn towards Sri Ramakrishna and be fired in his home, his name? Was this ovation done for me personally, or was not his name glorified by this? See how much thirst has been created in the minds of men to know about him. Now they will come to know of him gradually, and will not that the conducive to the good of the country. If the people do not know him who came for the welfare of the country, how can good befall them? When they know what he really was, then real men will be made, and when there be such men, how long will it take to drive away famines, etc., from the land? So I say that I rather desire that there should be some bustle and stir in Calcutta, so that the public might be inclined to believe in the mission of Sri Ramakrishna. Otherwise, what was the use of making so much fuss for my sake? What do what do I care for it? Have I become any greater now than when I used to play with you at your house? I am the same now as I was before. Tell me, do you find any change in me?" Though I said, "No, I don't find much change to speak of," yet in my mind I thought, "You have now indeed become a god." Swamiji continued, "Famine has come to be a constant quantity in our country, and now it is as it were a sort of blight upon us. Do you find in any other country such frequent ravages of famine? Now, because there are men in other countries, while in ours men have become akin to dead matter, quite inert. Let the people first learn to renounce their selfish nature by studying Sri Ramakrishna, by knowing him as he really was, and then will proceed from them real efforts trying to stop the frequently recurring famines. By and by I shall make efforts in that direction too. You will see myself. That will be good. Then you are going to deliver many lectures here, I presume. Likewise, how will his name be preached?" "Swamiji, what nonsense! Nothing of the kind. Has anything been left undone by which his name can be known? Enough has been done in that line. Lectures won't do any good in this country. Our educated countrymen would hear them, and at best would cheer and clap their hands, saying, 'Well done.' That's all. Then they would go home and digest, as we say, everything they had heard with their meal. What good will hammering do when a piece of rusty old iron? It will only crumble into pieces. First it should be made red hot, and then it can be molded into any shape. By hammering nothing will avail in our country without setting a glowing and living example before the people. What we want are some young men who will renounce everything and sacrifice their lives for their country's sake. We should first form their lives and then some real work can be expected. Myself. Well, Swamiji, it has always puzzled me that while men of our country, unable to understand their own religion, were embracing alien religions such as Christianity, Mohammedanism, etc. You, instead of doing anything for them, went over to England and America to preach Hinduism. Swamiji, don't you see that circumstances have changed now? Have the men of our country the power left in them to take up and practice true religion? What they have what they have is only pride in themselves that they are very sattvika. Time was when they were sattvika, no doubt, but now they have fallen very low. The fall from sattva brings one down headlong into tamas. That is what has happened to them. Do you think that a man who does not exert himself at all, who only takes the name of Hari, setting himself up in a room, who remains quiet and indifferent even when seeing a huge amount of wrong and violence done to others before his very eyes, possess the quality of sattva? Nothing of the kind. He is only enshrouded in dark tamas. How can the people of a country practice religion who do not get even sufficient food to appease their hunger? How can renunciation come to the people of a country in whose minds the desires for bhoga enjoyment have not been in the least satisfied? For this reason, find out first of all the ways and means by which man may get enough to eat and have enough luxuries to enable them to enjoy life a little, and then gradually true gratification will come and they will be fit and ready to realize religion in life. The people of England and America, how full of rajas they are. They have become satiated with all sorts of worldly enjoyment. Moreover, Christianity, being a religion of faith and superstition, occupies the same rank as our religion of the Puranas. With the separate of education and culture, the people of the West can no more find peace in that. Their present condition is such that giving them one lift will make them reach the sattva. Then again, in these days, would you accept the words of a sannyasi clad in rags in the same degree as you would be words of a white-faced Western who might come and speak to you on your own religion? Myself, just so, Swamiji, Mr. N.N. Ghosh also speaks exactly to the same effect. Swamiji, yes, when my Western disciples, after inquiring proper training and illumination, will come to numbers here and ask you, what are you all doing? Why are you of so little faith? How are your rites and religion, manners, customs and morals in any way inferior? We even regard your religion to be the highest. Then you will see that lots of our big and influential folk will hear them. Thus they will be able to do immense good to this country. Do not think for a moment that they will come to take up the position of teachers of religion to you. They will no doubt be your guru regarding practical science, etc., for the improvement of material conditions, and the people of our country will be their guru in everything pertaining to religion. This relation of guru and disciple in the domain of religion will forever exist between India and the rest of the world. Myself, how can that be, Swamiji? Considering the feeling of hatred with which they look upon us, it does not seem probable that they will ever do good to us purely from an unselfish motive. Swamiji, they find many reasons to hate us, and so they may justify themselves in doing so. In the first place, we are a conquered race, and moreover, there is nowhere in the world such a nation of mendicants as we are. The masses who comprise the lowest caste through ages of constant tyranny of the higher caste and by being treated by them with blows and kicks at every step they took have totally lost their manliness and become like professional beggars, and those who are removed one stage higher than these, having read a few pages of English, hang about the threshold of public offices with petitions in their hands. In the case of a post of 20 or 30 rupees falling weekend, 500 B's and M's will apply for it. And dear me, how curiously worded these petitions are. I have nothing to eat at home. Sir, my wife and children are starving. I most humbly implore you, sir, to give me some means to provide for myself and my family, or we shall die of starvation. Even when they enter into service, they cast all self-respect to the winds, and servitude in its worst form is what they practice. Such is the condition then of the masses. The highly educated, prominent men among you form themselves into societies and clamor at the top of their voices. Alas, India is going to ruin day by day. O English rulers, admit our countrymen to the higher offices of the state. Relieve us from famines, and so on, thus rending the air day and night with the eternal cry of give and give. The burden of all their speech is give to us, give more to us, O Englishmen. Dear me, what more will they give to you? They have given railway, telegraphs, well-ordered administration to the country, have almost entirely suppressed robbers, have given education in science. What more will they give? What does anyone give to others with perfect unselfishness? Well, they have given you so much. Let me ask, what have you given to them in return? Myself. What have we to give, Swamiji? We pay taxes. Swamiji, do you really? Do you give taxes to them of your own will, or do they exact them by compulsion because they keep peace in the country? Tell me plainly, what do you give them in return for all that they have done for you? You also have something to give them that they have not. You go to England, but that is also in the garb of a beggar praying for education. Some go, and what they do there at the most is perchance to applaud the Westerners' religion in some speeches and then come back. What an achievement indeed! Why have you nothing to give them? An inestimable treasure you have, which you can give. Give them your religion, give them your philosophy, study the history of the whole world, and you will see that every high ideal you meet with anywhere had its origin in India. From time immemorial, India has been the mine of precious ideas to human society, giving birth to high ideas herself. She has all freely distributed them broadcast over the whole world. The English are in India today to gather those higher ideals, to acquire a knowledge of the Vedanta, to penetrate into the deep mysteries of that eternal religion which is yours. Give those invaluable gems in exchange for what you receive from them. The Lord took me to their country to remove this opprobrium of the beggar that is attributed by them to us. It is not right to go to England for the purpose of begging only. Why should they always give us alms? Does anyone do so forever? It is not the law of nature to be always taking gifts with outstretched hands like beggars. To give and take is the law of nature. Any individual or class or nation that does not obey this law never prospers in life. We also must follow that law. That is why I went to America. So great is now that thirst for religion in the people there that there is room enough even if thousands of men like me go. They have been for a long time giving you of what wealth they possess, and now is the time for you to share your priceless treasure with them, and you will see how their feelings of hatred will be quickly replaced by those of faith, devotion, and reverence towards you, and how they will do good to your country even unasked. They are a nation of heroes, never do they forget any good done to them. Myself, well, Swamiji, in your lectures in the West, you have frequently and eloquently dwelt on our characteristic talents and virtues, and many convincing proofs you have put forward to show our whole souled love of religion. But now you say that we have become full of tamas, and at the same time you are accrediting us as the teachers of the eternal religion of the rishis to the world. How is that, Swamiji? Do you mean to say that I should go about from country to country, expatiating on your feelings before the public? Should I not rather hold up before them the characteristic virtues that mark you as a nation? It is always good to tell a man his defects in a direct way and in a friendly spirit to make him convinced of them so that he might correct himself. But you should trumpet forth his virtues before others. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that if you repeatedly tell a bad man that he is a good, he turns in time to be good. Similarly, a good man becomes bad if he is incessantly called so. There in the West, I have said enough to the people of their shortcomings. Mind up to my time, and who went over to the West from our country have sung paeans to them in praise of their virtues and have trumpeted our only blemishes to their ears. Consequently, it is no wonder that they have learned to hate us. For this reason, I have laid before them your virtues and pointed them their vices, just as I am now telling you of your weaknesses and their good points. However, full of tamas, you may have become something of the nature of the ancient rishis. However little it may be, is undoubtedly in you still, at least the framework of it. But that does not show that one should be in a hurry to take up at once the role of a teacher of religion and go over the West to preach it. First of all, one must completely mold one's religious life in solitude, must be perfect in renunciation, and must preserve brahmacharya without a break. The tamas has entered into you. What of that? Cannot the tamas be destroyed? It can be done in less than no time. It was for the destruction of the tamas that Bhagwan Sri Ramakrishna came to us, myself. But who can aspire be like you, Swamiji? Swamiji, do you think that there will be no more Vivekanandas after I die? That batch of young men who came and played music before me a little while ago, whom you all despise for being addicted to intoxicating drugs and look upon as worthless fellows, if the Lord wishes, each and every one of them may become a Vivekananda. There will be no lack of Vivekanandas if the world needs them. Thousands and millions of Vivekanandas will appear from where, who knows. Know for certain that the work done by me is not the work of Vivekananda, it is his work, the Lord's own work. If one governor general retires, another is sure to be sent in his place by the emperor. Enveloped in tamas, however much you may be, know all that will clear away if you take refuge in him by being sincere to the core of your heart. The time is opportune now, as the physician of the world disease has come, taking his name. If you set yourself to work, he will accomplish everything himself through you. Tamas itself will be transformed into the highest sattva. Myself, whatever you may say, I cannot bring myself to believe in these words. Who can come by that oratorial power of expounding philosophy which you have, Swamiji? You don't know. That power may come to all. That power comes to him who observes unbroken brahmacharya for a period of 12 years with the sole object of realizing God. I have practiced that kind of brahmacharya myself, and so a screen has been removed as it were from my brain. For that reason, I need not any more think over or prepare myself for any lectures on such a subtle subject as philosophy. Suppose I have to lecture tomorrow, all that I shall speak about will pass tonight before my eyes like so many pictures, and the next day I put into words during my lectures all those things that I saw. So you will understand now that it is not any power which is exclusively my own. Whoever will practice unbroken brahmacharya for 12 years will surely have it. If you do so, you too will get it. Our shastras do not say that only such and such a person will get it and not others. Myself. Do you remember, Swamiji, one day before you took sannyasa, we were sitting in the house of so and so, and you were trying to explain the mystery of samadhi to us. And when I called in question the truth of your words, saying that samadhi was not possible in this Kali Yoga, you emphatically demanded, do you want to see samadhi or to have it yourself? I get samadhi myself and I can make you have it. No sooner had you finished saying so than a stranger came up and we did not pursue that subject any further. Swamiji, yes, I remember the occasion. Later on, my pressing him to make me get samadhi, he said, you see, having continually lectured and worked hard for several years, the quality of rajas has become too prominent in me. Hence, that power is lying covered as it were in me now. If I leave all work and go to Himalayas and meditate in solitude for some time, then that power will again come out in me. So I stop this video here. Next video will start talk number 4. Chapter 2, talk number 4. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe the channel. Thanks a lot. Namaskar, my dear friend.